What's up? What's up? I'll give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. For those that are watching this in the future, it was a live stream, so you might want to fast forward about 5 minutes. I always forget I turned my volume off to hear when people join the Discord stream because I couldn't stand it. But now I'm like, I forget. I'm like, damn, where's everybody at? And then I look and people have joined. I took a little trade this morning on Bitcoin. It was honestly too quick to signal, but I guess theoretically I could have signaled it, but the risk to reward, I try to keep it at a 3 because I know a lot of people that are taking these signals there, not really sizing positions consistently or over leveraging themselves. So I try to keep the trades that we signal down. I don't always signal everything I take. Here, I'll show you guys in case. There's probably those people that are like, oh yeah, he's bullshitting. But there's that. Um, and that was just off of a liquidity raid. So let's just go over that. And this is something that we've talked about liquidity raids, and I've traded with them um, in the past, but they're really starting to grow on me, and I'm starting to lean towards um, only trading with them because they do have a lower risk to reward than waiting for structural confirmation of a 4-hour zone, and I'll play those trades too. But as far as from an intraday perspective, I like the consistency of them. And if you pair the liquidity raid with price moving into a fair value gap, it's very consistent. And I will say structural entries are consistent, for sure, but there's a reason. It's kind of a trade-off. We have a higher risk to reward on those structural confirmations, but that kind of evens out because it seems, in my experience, that they are a little less consistent, these liquidity raids. But um, now the key with these liquidity raids is to be very aggressive with your profit taking. We can use the lower time frames for execution. We need to use them for exit as well. It's not like maybe a 4-hour zone that we use the zone to confirm our entry. It comes down to it, and then we target the week high up here. You just hold all the way through that. I wouldn't really do that as much. If we're going to use a lower time frame for an execution, we'll use it for an exit too. And oftentimes it provides 2 to 3 R. That's what I'm seeing with Bitcoin at least, which isn't the craziest, but if you're really consistent with 2 to 3 R, you can make a lot of money trading that. But the overall bias is bullish, right? So it's just counterintuitive to that. But the way I looked at it is we have this really clean high right here. And as I got to my desk this morning, I saw that we had breached that high, right? Also, on a 1 hour, we've got a fair value gap above that right there. So whenever we have a liquidity pool in the form of a clean high and then a fair value gap, to me, that's a POI, if you will, right? It's a little different than just the supply candle up here. But that's an area where a lot of buy stops are resting and potential institutional sell orders remain. So for me, even if we are bullish, it's going to oftentimes provide a small selling opportunity. And that's so it is it's against the trend, so to speak. If we're looking at a 4-hour and going by the swing structure, but if we are just looking at it for what it is, an area where stops are, an imbalance, that result in a break of structure to the downside. So once we check that off, then I was like, okay, that happened. Um, I don't know what time, like 8 a.m. Then I went to a 5 minute, and I looked at the 5 minute, and I see, okay, well, what happened after that? Well, we took out a short-term low with displacement. So I actually came to this like almost perfect timing. It was like right here, and price it was up inside this imbalance, right? Liquidity had been engineered in the form of all these, everybody that wanted to get, they saw this, and all the, impulsive traders, they just sold, 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 right? Oh, this is the top, because everybody wants a market crash, right? Everybody wants Bitcoin to crash. That's how it goes. It's the opposite of what's actually going on. Everybody wanted Bitcoin to pump at 30K, and now everyone wants to crash at 24. So, everybody's just impulsively getting in short there. Price comes up, takes them out, and comes into this imbalance above those highs. Just like, remember what we're basing this off of. That's a great example of price being fractal. Is we have a framework on a higher time frame, and then we zoom in to see that same framework on a lower time frame. For instance, if we just take this zone right here, and let's just do this so you can get a better visual. Go to a 15 minute, and I'll do this. Actually, let me get rid of this little line. Probably should have got rid of this. I'll do that later because this actually would be a good example. So what we're looking for when this happens is price to remain. The hell is this up here? Oh, it's my picture. We're looking for price to remain fractal. So we want to see, if we're using an occurrence on a higher time frame in order to justify us to look for a trade to confirm that bias, we're going to see the same thing happen on a lower time frame, which is what we saw here. Whenever we see, oops, I thought both of them were selected. Make this a little bigger. Whenever we see, a break of structure to the downside with displacement, liquidity engineered with a fair value gap. So then once price, does that, we look at this again. It's just like supply and demand confirmations. We see the same occurrence on the 1 minute. So if we go to the 1 minute now we're inside that 5 minute fair value gap, right? Which is this. What do we see? A break to the downside with displacement. Now, I should have waited for right here. It would have been much nicer. It would have been a 4-hour trade. That was, mistake on my end. But to me, I've been taking these with 2R, and I just target the next, area of liquidity on a low time frame. This right here is where most people run into the error when they're trading this, because they look at this and they're like, "Oh, dude, we're coming down." And we're coming down to a discount of this impulse swing, which you very well could, right? You definitely could. But, you know, I think that, I'm happy with 2 to 3R. If I have a strategy that, has a high win rate, I'm totally happy to just target the next area of liquidity, right? And let me just show you. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I know he didn't take it there," because I get messages all the time, people asking me like, "Where are you actually taking, so and so trade?" Like, if I tell people I'm taking the trade, and look, this is a closed trade, has the time on it and everything. Now, for those of you who know MT4, you know that, but if this were an open trade, it would just have the number. It wouldn't have this right here. So I don't want to go over that with you guys. I'll start signaling these, or doing my best to signal them a little quicker. And if everybody wants to play it, I just, follow the strategy or get, forever hold your peace. And here's the thing: that the key to trading this strategy is you have to, not be all sad. Like, let's just say price just continued to just fall, right? Came and took out all the lows, all, I'm not gonna sit here and, bitch and moan over it. It is what it is, right? We're not trying to hit 50R a day, and everybody, it looks shiny and people love to flex it, but like, you know, most people that are actually making money are not hitting 25R a day, right? They're hitting, making small, as far as day trading goes, they're making, taking their money out of the market in small chunks and compounding those chunks. Now, there's also a setup on NOS that was similar like this morning. Rated up here. If you go to stock chat, I said that I was going to look for sells above highs with low time frame shifts. So we rated the buy side, and a lot of people too, they want to look for every high. Right? They're going to say like, okay, buy side raid, right? Get stopped out. Buy side raid, get stopped out. Right? Whenever we're looking at, intraday liquidity, where are the real stops residing? Here. That's where everybody. That's the retail breakout level is the high. So, we came above that high. This is a little different than the Bitcoin one because we're kind of out here in like la la land, and the draw on liquidity, I believe, is these equal highs at this point. Today's close is going to be kind of a decisional factor in that. We could, who knows, even hit it today. I don't know, but that's what seems. I need to take off some of these levels. It's not last week's. Now this day really is going to be the deciding factor where I think we're drawing to here or here. I'll go over that in a second, but we came above that high right there. Break a structure with displacement. Came in the fair value gap, reacted accordingly. Right. So, whenever you're targeting this kind of stuff, I there is a point where I wouldn't take them. I'm not just going to take every single trade. You know what I mean? You don't want to take. Me personally, I think 1R is not enough, but that's what that would have been, right? And I actually tweeted this the other day, kind of jokingly, but when I'm really studying this, I was doing some back testing, and it's almost like you're trying to be the damn algorithm when you trade like that. Not the 1R, but just these liquidity raids on the lower time frames, and they're more consistent. I really have found that. Um, but I found that they're only more consistent. My problem with them before that I didn't really, like was that oftentimes those target, the liquidity objectives. The first liquidity objective is not far away. If I can, like I said, if I can get 2 to 3R, I'll be fine. But I did want to just give those examples as something to study. Um, even if you're not taking the trade or whatever, if you're interested in trying to learn this strategy. But as of right now, so let's go over just our overall bias. I put this in the Discord this morning in the stock chat that we were gonna that SPY seems like it wants 420, right? Um, Again, this daily close is really going to be important because if we push up and then start to fall, that'll tell me that the buy side was just being manipulated and we're seeking into these lows here. So overall, at the moment, I need to delete a lot of this. I didn't do my markups last night. Just figured we'd do them live. Really, as far as levels go, the only thing that I see that's been newly introduced that I like are these lows right here. All this sell side liquidity. So there's some equal lows right there, along with a daily imbalance right here. Here the weekly. And I like to take the last week's body like this and draw a fib on it And then what is that? Why can't I see that? Bring to front. $4045.6. So really this level for me is a potential bounce level. If I'm in a trade, it's an area I would look to, shave off some of that trade if it was, um, if it was moving in favor, if I'm in a short and it's below me, I'm going to take some off that trade. Or wait, I just took the wrong indicator. There we go. So the previous week's EQ, on this one, I mean, I could mark this candle right here. I'm still going to mark this level just because it hasn't been tapped. It's not the previous week's EQ, so it's a little unorthodox. I know some of you guys who already do this are probably like, why are you marking that candle? I'm still going to put previous week's EQ. That for me, that's not going to confuse me. I don't want to write out, a book about it. But, um, and the reason being this week's already been, kind of dug into. So, um, I do like these lows if price does decide to turn around here, like if today we see a sell-off, or really if we see this candle close with a fat wick on top, or especially if we see a down close. Um, yeah, down close here, I'd be looking for these lows, and I'd frame trades around that. And I would not be surprised to see that. That would be kind of I guess I would, if I had to take a guess, which I'm not going to, trade off of guesses. But the reason for that is we have absorbed a shitload of buy side liquidity recently. We were also into this daily order block here. We rebalanced the daily right here and the weekly. I'm going to take these off because it's cluttering the chart, but we filled a lot of imbalances. Price has definitely been rallying. A lot of volatile news this week. Overall, bias is still up. Like I think that even if we come down into this imbalance, I would still be looking for this high to get taken. So with SPY, as of right now, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the sell narrative. For not for this entire week, but until we get to these lows. But if just really depends on today's close. I like waiting for the Monday price action to kind of, the market will show its hand. Also, we have a lot of news this week. So that's for ES or SPX, SPY, whatever you want to call it. So the Nasdaq, I'm gonna mark out. We fit, this chart's a little. It's starting to get so extended, and it's moving efficiently though. I will say that. Like for instance, we moved up, came back down into that imbalance. I'm gonna delete this just because I don't like having too much stuff. I'm also gonna delete the daily order block line because we know we're in a daily order block. Now here, we're gravitating up towards these highs. I just picked the lowest one. That's kind of just a strategy of mine is to, you know, I don't want to go for the highest high. If I'm looking at a bunch of highs, I'm going to pick the lowest one. But in this example, we're moving efficiently as far as this imbalance goes. So, you know, I mean, price if we again today's going to really have to give us more before I can say what am sure of or more. Well, I guess I should. You're never sure, but what I would lean towards, just looking at it right now, I would probably lean towards coming back down into this imbalance. But I know we're so close to the equal highs, which is the draw on liquidity overall. I get it, but again, just I'm taking ES into account. Really today, it's again today's candle close is going to give us a lot more bias because on all of these days to the upside, right? Look at all the big days where these moves are starting, where we saw, until like in this example, you know, up until let's take a vertical line. So let's just say we're starting down here. Up until this candle, the sell side was being seeked, right? So all of these traders were getting stopped out, and price was moving down in order to obtain those sell stops. Now, after that, price started to go to the upside. What happened? We took out an old low, took out a low here again, and then price rallied. Now, where did price go? Up into this imbalance. Then after that, that was seeking the buy side all through here. So then we saw price move to the downside. There was kind of a consolidation down here, and then price continued on its rally. And what we're, I could go and mark, lines on each move, and every, you might be looking at like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're just marking a line every time price pivots, and you're right. But the point of what I'm trying to get across is that price is consistently bouncing between areas of liquidity. It's rebalancing price, and it's allowing the market makers in order to fulfill all the orders they need to fulfill or hunt the ones they need to accumulate or distribute their assets. So in this instance, I look at it like, okay, well, we filled this imbalance. That was on Friday, which is weird that that happened on a Friday. And on all of these, big pushes to the upside, usually whenever we start to move one way or another, we see a large wick opposing that price action. And what we look for intraday is we look for price to kind of do this, and then we see a low taken before a rally. So guess what this looks like on a daily candle? Looks like that. The large wick to the downside, which that large wick is this move down. So if we get something opposite of that, for instance, like today we have a large wick to the top and then a big move down, that would lead you to look for the sell side to be seeked. So again, let's look at NOS on a lower time frame. Like we just went over, this high got rated. Right, that's where the sell stops were residing. Low time frame break of structural displacement. Price is now seeking the sell side. Now, if somebody for whatever reason just took a sell whenever we were talking about that, um, overall it looks, well, we came into a discount and we filled this little imbalance here and tapped into this flip zone. I don't know if I'd even consider that a flip zone, but more importantly, we came down and filled that little imbalance. But again, once I'm probably leaning more towards the sell narrative, up down into these imbalances here. Maybe this low would have some value. It is a swing low, so there's going to be some liquidity there. But if price gets down to that area, I would really like this imbalance to get filled. What is Aussie dollar? Watch 15-minute for confirmation entry. Okay, actually, I remember talking about this last week. So maybe this will probably be added to my week setup. Let's just go ahead and go over Aussie dollar. So again, just to review indices, I could see some downward action into these lows or this imbalance. But again, today, the way that today closes is really going to give us what we need to see or to need to know. If we close a day looking anything like this, 420 on SPY. That'd be the next target. And then 13,550 to 13,600 on NOS. Again, we just got to wait. So Aussie dollar, let's look at the daily. Get a daily. I'm gonna delete this because that's already been mitigated. Saving these. I don't know why I've just been typing them. I haven't really been messing with Forex as much lately just because the daily charts haven't really been giving a very clear direction. They've kind of been just consolidating. Anytime you have a lot of stuff going on, like as far as like the world stage, we've got all the China, Taiwan stuff. Europe's going through an energy crisis. The Ukraine war is going on. There's a lot of money um, being, well, not only being moved between currencies, but also there's just a ton of shit going on in the world as far as the economies go. So Forex has kind of been a little bit odd lately, or not even really odd, but to me, just hasn't really been giving super clear I guess daily bias for me the way I do it. And I'm sure there's some of you guys who've been killing it, right? But I just go with what I know works for me. and that's been with indices. And honestly, Bitcoin's been fucking amazing lately. I was hating on Bitcoin there for a little bit, but um, right here, I mean, again, we're gonna wait for the lower time frames to confirm. Again, looking at the daily, I mean, the only area that I see, if we, I see this imbalance down here and these lows would be, there's definitely a lot of stops under that. You got this daily order block, but that's really already been, I mean, I guess you could argue that it hasn't been mitigated. I mean, it did get tapped. We moved pretty hard away from it. So I'm not going to pay it too much mind. But the bias behind this, we went over it last week on stream, was got that 4 hour change of character, right? Inside of a 4 hour zone. That's institutional candle up here. Also, we did have a liquidation right here, which is nice because all of those early shorts, and this is something we went over in the private class, talking about POI selection. This is actually a really good example. Um, everybody that trades smart money, they start trading smart money, they get attached with the idea of trading every single 4 hour POI. And, they just look at it like, okay, lower low, lower high, lower low. I'm shorting this order block, right? So a lot of people do that. They didn't give you a false confirmation, but a lot of times you'll get a false confirmation on those. But the key is understanding where the move really originated. So, I refined, I think it was this candle down to a 1 hour, these two candles right here. We also have like I just said, we had those lows or those highs get cleared. So we had a liquidation. What I would be looking for here is, being really aggressive, one could look for a break of this low right here. For me, though, I kind of want to see this low get taken with displacement. And the reason for that is, yes, I get it. This is the internal low, but I also see this order block right here. And I want to see us take this with displacement and preferably get a closure, but really just the amount of displacement is going to be the determining factor for me. Um, so after that, I would go to the 5 minute and kind of just break it down again and wait for the same thing. I'm not going to rush anything here. I haven't traded Aussie dollar in a while. It's been pretty bullish overall. So, I want to be patient with these sells because, again, the daily is not really giving me a super clear direction. This is, it's pushing up, it's just kind of bouncing around in this area right here. I think it's at a weekly. No, it's not. Well, actually, yeah, it came close. Anytime you get to this, yeah, that's it right there. I didn't realize. Yeah, if you get to the equilibrium of a weekly swing or a weekly impulse move, price is going to be super, super just buggy almost. And it's going to be frustrating for those that are just trading this asset. This is why I always tell you guys, like, figure out, what's hitting, right? Like, don't get stuck on one thing. There's so many people who've like only traded crypto for the entirety of this year, and you've missed out on, really, really great opportunities trading indices. And you know, I'm all about work smarter, not harder. I don't want to go in a market where it's harder for me to tell my directional bias. I'd rather go somewhere where it's clear. But um, so the daily is kind of weird. 4 hour here came up into this area. Um, so this would be more of a supply and demand play. So I'm going to go through all the time frames. I'm not going to rush anything, but I am going to set alerts for this. Um, keep you guys updated on that. I'll go ahead and post this to Twitter too, at least the TA. If you guys have any coins you want to go over, I can give you like a weekly outlook, but I will do crypto next if not. 1 second. I'll go ahead and start doing crypto. So yeah, just let that be. I have alerts set for this low. So let's go ahead and do Bitcoin. Oh, what the fuck? That was the chart. I forgot I had that screenshot. I was like, what is this? It's like, I know that's not the daily price action. So again, last week's bias, I mean, we literally hit it to a T. We said the draw on liquidity was this imbalance here. Price reacted super strong off it. I will say, I did, say that price was going to go into the imbalance. Obviously, we never know where the orders lie. So, I didn't know where. We just wait for the break of structure with displacement, which it was, that happened immediately here. So, overall, this price action right here, this is bullish as shit in my opinion. Now, bullish up until, whatever liquidity objective that the market makers wish to push price from or price to. We were taking out those lows, got the break of structure with displacement, moved into the supply candle, and then off to the races. So a lot of times we'll get those moves on the weekends, get that weekend pump where everything's just like mayhem. Um, I take trading completely off on the weekends. I spend enough time doing it on the week, so I didn't really. The last thing we got, and we called this live for any of you guys. Everybody in the Discord already knows, but we called this trade live on stream for free for anybody that has been returning viewer. I'm sure you got to capitalize off that, but here on the 1 hour chart, I could see this turn to like a buy to sell range. And the reason for that is, we have this really clean high right here, right? That whenever that happens, and this actually formed during a class, we called this liquidity raid too, but it was during one of our private classes. I think it was a Saturday. But whenever we have a clean high like that, and then you have this right here, got that, candle before a big displacement. That lurking above, that's going to be a decisional point. And I mean, I guess it's kind of obvious that it's decisional because it's, right here at the high. But that I see Bitcoin potentially having some trouble there because the reason this is valuable to me is first of all, there was a liquidation that occurred here, right? Everybody that, and before that, all the people that shorted whenever Tesla that announced they sold Bitcoin, that was this right here. Everybody that sold and got short all through here. I mean, I'm sure people made money, right? But a lot of people just were looking to short every single one of these, dips. And they're FOMOing in, right? Building up that liquidity. So all of that got taken. So that was, this is definitely a manipulated move. Also, it was pushing into a 4 hour imbalance that we've talked about for a long time. That every time you have a high front run APOI or low, whatever, depends what kind of POI you're looking at, you will oftentimes, no, we don't know how long it's going to take, but oftentimes it's going to get ran. So we saw it get ran, right? Price moved in that 4 hour imbalance and moved pretty rough away from it. Now, that was expected, and the overall structure here is bullish to me, right? Like we have this as our swing low, swing high. But I will say, it would be very nice if we just push to the upside. That would be awesome. But Bitcoin likes to be pretty complex at times. Now, the last couple, like this little swing right here, this was like easy money, right? We caught this entire move right here. But the nature of this price action to me, I could see, a little bit more of a buy to sell scenario. But really, what I'm waiting for, and let's look at the daily again. I'm waiting for us to see how we react to that candle, especially if we hit it during today's daily candle. That'll give me really everything I didn't know. But looking at just the daily chart alone, I'm gonna delete this daily order block thing. Um, it seems like price is seeking out this high, and again, like we said, let me find this. 1 second. So copy this. I'll just do it like this. This is last week's daily outlook, right? That was the beginning of last week. We said we're looking for a price to trade into the daily order block and the fair value gap before moving towards our weekly draw on liquidity. And price did exactly that. It traded in. So now, we've got the liquidity built up above these highs. And this overall draw on liquidity on the weekly is still in this area. Now, indices are going to have, in my opinion, a big um, uh, I guess, role in how this plays out because, like I said, let's just say price comes up into this zone right here, and then we get a sharp reaction from it. Well, that would be probably a redistribution scenario if that happens. Now, I'm not speculating that that will happen. I'm not going to sit here and set a sell limit right there, but I am going to set alerts for that candle and definitely. Where's my alert button? I think I put a brush thing there. That's why I didn't have an alert. Um, Now, I'm not married to the idea of that falling right there, but I could see a potential move to the downside. And that would be ideal, in my opinion. That would be better than us just flying from here. Maybe I'm being biased because I don't have any open longs. But um, if we do see that scenario, we could look for price to fall back down into this imbalance potentially because like looking at a daily chart, if let's just say during, and the reason I'm saying during this daily candle is this again for the reason that we were saying, look whenever price is moving down, like last week, if this is why I tell everybody, don't just sell and hold till this. Like when I give you these outlooks and these daily biases, you don't just open a position and hold it there because look what happens, massive wicks to the upside, cleaning out people with that exact thought process. So whenever you start to see, if we're moving up, you usually see a wick to the downside, push up, wick to the downside, push up. What's that? What that is intraday liquidity rates. Again, it's just, whenever you come to the desk in the morning and price does this and everybody goes short and then the day ends up rallying, it looks like this on a daily chart. Or whenever you have the opposite scenario, it looks like this. So if we see price push up into that supply zone and then push down and have a really big wick, I would look for sells into this area and start to frame my narrative around that. And that would be, what I'd be leaning more towards. I'd take trades the opposite direction, but I'd be only risking half as much. So overall, again, with crypto, um, looking at the daily chart right now, we want these highs, but again, it's Monday. We want to see how Monday closes. So that's really what I'm watching for is this how we react to this area up in here above this high if we even make it there. Now let's just say we don't make it there and just tank from here. Well, that'd be the same thing. If we see a very big down close or a lot of wicks on the top of today's candle, I'd be looking for a push down into these areas. um I'm gonna peep a couple forex charts in the daily. A lot of shit's just the same thing as the Aussie dollar. It's just like I will say, cable has the GU has been a little bit better as far as like what it looks like it wants to draw to. Oh, hmm. See how you saw some reaction to this low, but I don't think that's gonna stop. I still like this area down here. Because you saw a nice reaction to this daily order block here. You rebalance the daily. Now you're pushing the downside. So what, now it's seeking the sell side. So for me, this low probably isn't enough. Down here would be in the ideal area. So really none of the levels have changed too much, except we now have, I think, some more buy side right here. Damn it. I don't know why it wants to start with this. I think it's something to do with my alert. When I switch from the alert template, that's what it has to be. Um, so yeah, overall with GU, still looks like we're moving to the downside. Let's look at this intraday. Oh, this actually looks pretty nice right now. It's probably already given an entry, but and this is exactly what we were talking about this morning. We have an old high, imbalance above, price comes into it, break, structure that with displacement. I'm actually going to chart this up really quick. And again, if our bias is that we're going to go down, we would want to see a push to the upside first, right? Because on every one of these candles, you have a big area where price traveled within that day. Because whenever you're looking at a candle, you're just looking at a lower time frame range. That daily candle is just a trading range. Yeah, this is actually super clean. Let's see what this would look like. What's this high? 21253. And again, for those of you guys that are watching this, your broker is going to be different than mine. Just really what it is this 5-minute imbalance, the lower one. I always move stuff like a pip or a half pip up. So in this scenario, I want to see if the risk to reward even kind of matches out. It's really the first target would be that area there. Yeah, I don't know. Theoretically, it is a supply and demand entry too, because we have a supply candle, 5-minute confirmation. So you would look to target this low down here, and that would go along with the daily bias. So that's why I like this trade. Is it's not just a liquidity rate. I'm just going to use the fair value gap to enter, and this can help too. Like we went over this. It's like if you're a supply and demand trader, well, you've got your 5-minute confirmation entry inside your 15-minute zone right there. So it's like, oh, well, what zone do I play? What order block do I play? You know. This sometimes helps me do select which candle I want to trade off of. So you would look to target farther down to here, which would be very nice. How many pips has it even moved so far? It's already moved 25 pips. Also, I'm going to do some weekly bias on DXY. Yeah, shit's definitely moving down. We got this about. I mean, really, it didn't. It would have. I guess if you used the 1 minute, you'd have maybe got an entry. I still probably would have taken that, but honestly, what would be nice is if we would take out this really quick. These lows right here. I drew that slanted, but that area, and then come up back into this area. That would be ideal. I'm definitely gonna have this on watch as well. Um, I'm not gonna set limits right here, but what I'm gonna do is set an alert, and I'm actually going to mark the 15-minute imbalance instead of 5-minute, just for an alert. Because the way I look at it is, the impulse move was this right here. So far, that's definitely in a premium. We got that 15-minute shift in market structure right here. Oops. So I'm going to set alerts for this high right here, which is that 21220, and that's on my broker. I think it's I don't. I shouldn't say my broker. I don't trade off this. I use MFF, but this is the feed I use. So I might actually, because I like this daily chart on GU. I do. It show, and this is what I mean. Whenever it's showing design, like it wants something, right? It's moving towards something. It's not like this, where there's opportunities here, right? But this can be a lot more screen time, and it's something we talked about in the private class. But in essence, basically, we want to we want to look at trading like a business. When you look at a business, you want to determine where is your time, most valuably spent. That's a weird way to say that, I guess, but you get what I'm saying. Is where is the most efficient market for you to participate in? And for me, that's something that shows, overall desire to move towards something. I will say Aussie dollar isn't even that appealing, but I do like that this the supply and demand setup. Um, I need to start paying attention to GJ. I don't really trade Asia session though. This is a great pair for Asia session. It looks, and we went over this last week. It cleared the low, and it looks like it wants this imbalance right here, and then it's doing just that today. But this right here is odd. But again, it's not really in session for this coin yet, or coin. I hate when I call it a coin on accident. Same with EJ, is moving back up into some balance. This has been another pair that's been pretty nice to trade recently. I missed, dude. I was so sad. I missed all this right here. And reason being is because I was like on my phone and I was out of the office, and I had this marked, and this was the day that Europe they announced that they're going to double their interest rates to fight inflation, and that blasted through. And as soon as they announced, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to chill right now. I'm not, I was like, it's probably going to be a liquidity rate setup, and I'm not going to be equipped to take it because I'm not going to, I don't like watching really fast setups on my phone. I want to be at my screen, but it really didn't even give a setup I would have taken. So I guess I can't be too sad, but it did. I wanted to target, it was like 136.8, which was down here, and it went straight there. And after this, I was like, oh, it's cool. You'll get an entry. And then, nope. But now the daily does look like it's moving back up into this imbalance right here. I have alert set if it gets filled, but if price, comes back in there, I would look for all this to get taken out. Or well, if price comes in there and lower time frames show signs of reversal, I want to see both these lows taken. So GU is another one I want to keep a watch on. I've been better at actually marking this up. All right, EU and AU, I'm kind of iffy on. I'm gonna leave these undone for now, and we'll close out on the dollar index. So it's consolidating in this fair value gap. All right, we talked about this too. It's Let's see where exactly it said this. Oh, right here. So here, see the tweet was on the 24th when it was up here. It said looking for this imbalance to get filled. So here's the picture so you can see it. So what happened? Imbalance got filled. Exactly like we planned. And now we're seeing, price kind of consolidate within this imbalance. So we know, whenever we see that happen, a lot of times we want, to really just study the lower time frame. So here, what I see is price, rushed to the upside, took out this high. Then we also rushed to the downside. Came up. Looks like we are engineering some buy side liquidity in the form of highs right here. What I would look for here is probably price to come down here. And that's where you'll see a potential, it's going to be decisional. Either it's going to move to the upside from this area or break down. If it breaks down there, that'll be good for markets. It'll be some relief. Overall target, I still want this area up here. But I'm not going to get married to that narrative either. If we start to break down from this imbalance, that's going to be super bullish for crypto. And really all markets, as far as anything with USD at the end and um, uh, indices and any large market cap assets. But if price breaks down from this, if we start to see moving to the downside, I'll look for this 103.212. And where I got that is it's a monthly order block. So again, just to kind of recap that price, I mean, this doesn't really look too bullish because we came up, we closed above this high, so I wouldn't consider that a raid. Retraced, filled this imbalance, pushed up, but then this right here, you didn't see a closure, and now we're seeing kind of a push to the downside. If we don't, if we come down and take this low, this is really your last area of potential reversal. Now if you maintain here, extremely bullish. And then that's where we'll start to see, bullish order flow has now re-entered this, which bullish order flow theoretically on the dollar means that money is being siphoned out of markets, like the stock market and the crypto market, and siphoned out of, uh, foreign markets into the U.S. dollar, into the reserve currency, which is more risk off, which is what we've been seeing. That's whenever you see this chart move to the upside. On that note, I'm gonna hop off. I know it's 5 minutes early. Let me see if there's any questions from the Discord or StreamYard. Don't see anything on there. EGLD and G. Yeah, I got you out of leaky. Hold on one second. EGLD. I haven't messed with this coin in a long time. I think we charted it. Yeah, we charted it not too long ago. I mean, it's been up. That was a minute ago. It was like a month or 2 months. I mean, this doesn't look bad. Like, this looks good. Daily chart. You are above these these equal highs right here. I mean, price showed the desire to continue moving. It closed above it, a day after rating into it. Let me look at the weekly. Oh, you were pulling into this imbalance here. How do I trade fair value gap form on the 4-hour to the daily, the 1 day time frame? It's the same thing as everything. Like, for instance, if I was just a daily and a 4-hour trader, like, for instance, I would look for, like, let's just say we're talking about, this imbalance. Well, actually, let's just do it back in time. Here about this. Let's do this. And this will be a live little study for both of us because I don't know what happened here. Well, I know that price moved up, but I don't know exactly the low time frame bias. So let me go and hit replay. So once price comes into your daily fair value gap, let's mark this. So after that, what do? We go to the 4-hour and we're going to look for a break of a high, any swing high. And when I say swing high, I don't mean our swings, our massive swing structure. But any high, any candle that has one candle to the after that's lower, and one candle to the left that's lower. So right here, this is going to be that next one that I see. So we'd look for a break with displacement, right? So we broke above that high, and guess what we left right behind? Another fair value gap. So what we're using is we you know you can look at it like, oh, fair value gap. And what I want you to look at it for what it is, and it's just the evidence that there is a big fish in the market right here that is buying up this dip, that their orders were left within this imbalance. So they're buying it up. Now the price is, came down here. It's reached a point where there is an inefficient amount of sell orders compared to the buy orders. So price is going to rush to where there are sell orders. So there's buy orders left within here. Now, if you're just a 4-hour trader, which oftentimes you're not going to get, the best risk to reward, but if that is your style, you know, let's say you're an equilibrium trader, you trade at the equilibrium of the 4-hour fair value gap, well, you got missed. If you traded the fill, you got missed. If you traded at the beginning of it, this would have been your trade. Could have had a stop under this low because this is your most recent, internal low. And then, where do you target? Well, let's go to the daily chart because that's where you framed your trade off of. So at this point, the next area of liquidity is these highs. So you would have just said right here. And look, this would have been a good trade, 3R. I mean, you could have refined it a lot, but I mean, theoretically, we know what happened here. You hit in a couple days. And it's just the same thing. You're just, price is going from an imbalance to a high, or it's going from a high to an imbalance. So I hope that helped. It's all the same. It really is all the same. It's the same formula. You're just applying it to different time frames in the context of the higher time frame. So, you know, if I'm going to use the daily, okay, well, I'm going to use the 4-hour to kind of confirm it, and then maybe you go to the 15-minute. It's whatever your style is. So here, I would say that we do have a likelihood to reverse. There's a potential that we move up here. We have a daily imbalance there, but let's see. I think that's probably the weekly imbalance too. Yeah. So there's a there's a likelihood we could go up into this area. But what I see whenever we have these weekly imbalances, once price removes some lower time frame liquidity, like on the daily, we've kind of taken out these highs. I get a little weary of continuing, saying, oh, we have to hit this, right? So now let's look at this as well. We've got an order block right there. So that's going to be another area of resistance. You could be drawing into it, though. That is the point of that. So what I would do is I would watch Bitcoin to kind of get your bias. If Bitcoin does, we were saying earlier, and it does push the downside, or if indices push to the downside, that would lean more towards the short narrative. You've also got this daily order block here and an imbalance right there. So, ideally, if you're a bull, unless you just want to, hodl, ideally, if you took, a trade down from if we could push to the downside, the ideal buying range would be down in here. It'd be at a discount of the swing move. There's an order block right at equilibrium. This would be the better scenario. I'm actually going to set an alert for this. I like that. If we could go down to that imbalance and then tap into this order block too, I would look for a push up into this area, or really this high, whatever we form here would be the target. Can you scale? Yeah, no problem, bro. And you said, can you scale low time frame 15 to 5 to 3 minutes? I like for fair value gaps, I would say like 1 hour to 15 to 5 minute. That's just what I would recommend. Now, if you want to do even lower time frames, I would just do 15 to, honestly, if you're using liquidity raids and fair value gap entries, 15 to 1, like 15-minute to 1 minute's fine. For crypto, 15-minute to 5 minute can save you from having false signals. But like like for instance, I don't know if you were at the beginning of the video, but we this trade that I took. Oh wow, I see it. Like that's why I'm glad I took the full profit, because then this is the death cycle. If you take these trades, you get in them, it goes good. You take no profits, stops you out, and then flushes down. But there's another entry here while we were on stream. We just been going over everything else, which is fine. But in this scenario, there was a 1 hour high, 1 hour fair value gap, and I didn't really wait for a 15-minute change of character. Now we've got that, so we could frame a potential entry around that, which I'm actually going to watch this. Depending on where's this candle close, we still got 12 minutes. But I just went straight to a 1 minute, or I think it was a 5 minute. I'm sorry, yeah, 5 minute from the 1 hour. I didn't even use the 15. So then we got to break a structure right here with a fair value gap. A nice move to the downside, definitely displacement right as soon as price reacted to that high, pushed away from it. So smart money is selling to these buyers. Price moved back up into the imbalance. On the 1 minute, had the same occurrence. Breakdown with the fair value gap. I didn't even get the sniper. I just took the trade right here because it was close enough for me. It was fine with my risk tolerance, but could have been a little more patient there. That's the reflecting. I could have done that, but yeah. Also, yes, I'll do link cancel, but this is going to be the last one I do. I'm about to hop off. I would be wary of longs here, and I'll tell you why. Got this daily order block right here. Just filled this imbalance right here. Now I will say the weekly overall draw on liquidity is going to be this imbalance and this high. So I'm going to put weekly draw on liquidity up there. So that could get overpowered. I mean, this is just you're in a kind of a weird spot. So what I could see is a reaction off of this, maybe down into this imbalance. Then if you see the 4 hour start to go bullish, or the 1 hour even, you could look for bullish price action up into this weekly draw on liquidity, because this high, there's a ton of stops there. Ton. It's also right under a big figure, which is $10. That's kind of where I'd be at with that. And yes, you definitely bias is super important. I mean, it's literally, I think a huge problem people have in trading, especially with smart money concepts, is you learn everything and it's a lot of data, and you start to either rationalize too many entries, or you get paralysis by analysis. So um, a key way to fix that is to you know how do I limit what I'm looking at? How do I prune my perspective and figure out what I'm really looking at, or what I'm looking for? And if you can establish from the daily chart or from a higher time frame what price is likely to draw to, you're going to be able to see things more clearly, and you won't look to trade every single setup. But I appreciate all you guys coming through as usual. Any of you guys that have any questions, always reach out to me. Hit me up on any platform. I'll respond as quickly as possible. But yeah, I'm actually going to be setups. I'm going to be watching. It's going to be Bitcoin. Um, if we can somehow come back up here pretty quickly, we'll see if it happens during session. But I'm going to watch Bitcoin during this imbalance. What I'd be looking for is the 1 minute to break structure the downside with displacement. I'm also going to be watching GU. And I want price to come back in this 15-minute imbalance. Also, Aussie Dollar, if we get a breakdown under there. And then indices, I think the move of the day on indices for what I would have wanted to play has already really played out. Indices looking rough. Probably bring everything else down with it. It's weird though. I will say that because DXY, I mean, that would lead me to believe that DXY might be accumulating here in this fair value gap. So yeah, if you guys want
You looking to short Bitcoin?
if I get price to come up into, use this is a 15-minute one. I want to say this candle closes. If this candle closes like this, I'll watch anywhere in this whole area. But yeah, I would like to see. Here, I'll show you guys what I would actually really like, because I took the other day when we called this trade live, I took a second trade on my own inside this range. So like, look right here. Once we have a bias develop, like the price is seeking the sell side, like here, I knew we were seeking this low, or I shouldn't say I knew, but I thought. And that every time that happens, any movements on the way down, liquidity raise or fair value gaps can provide another entry. So I'd basically be looking for some kind of price action like this right here, where we kind of generate liquidity and then it would push back up into this region. Anywhere really, like I said, if we close the 15-minute where we look like we're going to close it or lower, I would look anywhere in this fair value gap right here for a low time frame, price action to kind of just do this and maybe move down and then liquidate all those early shorts, may rush into one of these lower time frame imbalances and then move to the downside. But that can all change very quickly. All again, that's just potential. So that's the setup that I'm gonna keep my eyes on. I will be working on some other stuff, so I'm gonna have to be working off alerts. I'll try to keep Bitcoin on my screen. GU I've got alerts set for, but yeah, that would be the higher value setups that I'm watching on as GU and Bitcoin. But you guys, as always, I appreciate it. What's up, Keeson? You're pretty late to the party, bro. You have to rewatch it. I hate to tell you, we're about to hop off, man. But what's up, though? Yeah. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be on at 10:30, and I'm gonna post up my schedule for the week here in a minute. So yeah, don't get liquidated out there. I'll see you tomorrow.